Your latest album, The Fourth Horseman, is described as a declaration of sonic warfare. What inspired this powerful aggression and sound?
I would say in sound, it's like basically Guinea Pig Champion, who's also the guitar player of War Torn. He wrote the Iconic Nightmare. He wrote most of the stuff, but yeah, it was basically this. He writes all the music, and then I kind of reassemble the music and stuff to make sure it like fits structurally, like what we're doing, and then put it in all together. And like yeah, so we also have some pretty killer gear. So we tour with a lot of bands who love to use our backline, which is fine with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We just developed like we just got more and more heavier as we went on, and I think we started out like more like a Motorhead rock and roll hardcore singing band to like Motorhead like a totally like raging screaming metal band. But either way, people can
elements. I can hear elements of Motorhead, and I was like doing Lemmy a solid.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. It's definitely inspired by him. But I would say was once I saw them, and I used to sing for the band War Torn. We were on Southern Lord Records for the Iconic Nightmare, our last record stuff. We did a lot. We were around forever and a day, and the guitar player, Guinea Pig Champion, was the guitar player the whole time. So I've been in bands with him for like 20 years or whatever. And what the hell was I saying? So I went and saw Nepsi, and once I saw Nepsi, I'm like, I want to start a band like this. This seems really fun. And not only that, I was like, this is kind of the perfect sound. The difference is we're tuned down to C. So they're more like Motorhead's mid-pace stuff, and we're more like Motorhead's fast as hell stuff. And almost faster than Motorhead by in some cases.
The title track of the album dives into themes of death, rebirth, and the invincible human spirit against the odds. What was the inspiration behind that song, and how does it fit in the overall message of the album?
Oh, yeah, that's why it's like I ride with death and death rides with me and stuff. Yeah, basically what happened is during COVID, my dad was a proponent of taking the shot, which I don't mind if people got shot, didn't get shot. That's up to them. I kind of stay out of people's business. Yeah. But my dad got the shot and he died from it. He had the fibrillation and the heart problem. But the story is not horrible. And it's horrible and then it gets better. So I get a call at work. I go there. I go to the hospital. My dad's like on some machine. He's not conscious. He was dead for a half hour. He went 4.5 minutes without blood to his brain, and luckily he died at a YMCA. So like the lifeguards did the CPR to keep him whatever the best they could do, and then the ER people or whatever the paramedics jumped him with the shocker thing, and after a half hour, I guess his heart reset, and then he came back online, and I heard he was just totally white like a ghost, and then all of a sudden boom, filled back up with red. And
oh wow,
he was in a medical coma for 4 days, and they would let us visit him, and we had to put on space suits and stuff at the hospital, but they also claimed he had COVID at the time. Now there's only a 3% survival chance rate, and you got paid way more if a person died of COVID at that time if you're a hospital. There's so he's gonna die for sure. They saying he's brain dead, blah blah blah. They did brain scans. My mom even called in one time and said, "Hey, can you check my husband and make sure?" Blah blah blah. They're like, "No, he's incapacitated. He's, you know what I mean? No, brain scan shows 0. He's brain dead. He's done. Blah blah blah." Okay, so we're saying goodbye basically to my dad, and all of a sudden we're in the room, and he wakes up, and he's on hospice. And I'm pretty impressed because he's also on morphine, and he looks around, and he said he knows my name, he knows my mom's name, he knows his youngest brother's name. He asks about our cousin. And it's brain dead people don't have discussions with you after waking up in a coma and being dead for a half hour. That's not how this works. So I went and got the doctor, and I said, "Hey, I think you're wrong about this. Can you come in and reevaluate him?" They reevaluated him, and the doctor said, "Okay, I've never seen this in my lifetime, but I definitely was wrong, and we'll redo this." So they redo the whole thing, and then they reevaluate him or whatever, say, "Okay, he's off hospice." Once he was off hospice, they're like, oh, we're keeping him for 20 something more days because of COVID. And my mom's just like, COVID at the time is 5 days, but my dad's
Yeah.
got amazing insurance. So magically there was 15 extra days because that's just the way they do things. That's their procedures. And she's like,
Yeah.
based on what? This doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous. Then like they start to doing the, well, you can't walk COVID through my hospital, so you can't see him. He's in the same room. They already had us go there
Yeah.
like 3 times and put on spacesuits. Like, have us put on the spacesuit again. I don't care. They're just like, oh no, you can't see your dad. Like, that's not possible, and that's too dangerous, and da 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 da. And I was just like, for COVID. I'm like, I did. I'm negative. And then my mom goes, oh, I got tested, but I gotta wait to see what the result is. And they go, see, then you can't see him. And I go, okay. So after she tests negative, then can we go see him? They're like, no. And I'm like, then why are you asking? None of this makes any sense. That was like the most. Then the guy behind the counter started like threatening me because he got mad that I was getting annoyed and getting loud. But I was like, we were just here 3 days in a row. Like, what? So now that he's awake, now that he's talking, now we can't see him because he's not dying, and you're not going to make a ton of money off him. So you're going to try to make money off him by like keeping him as long as you possibly can. Which the whole thing, and then he ended up back home probably like a week later or something. He recovered. He's probably about 85 to 90% normal actually, and
that's awesome.
he can drive. He can do everything. It's kind of like having my dad. If my dad was like a twin brother of himself, because it did change his personality. He probably did, some brain damage, and probably his brain rerouted itself in a lot of ways, or whatever it does. Nature finds way. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So I thought the song would be pretty fitting for like what he all experienced.
That's beautiful and amazing. And it's amazing that, you got your dad back. And like you said, the brain rewires itself. I've read some great articles how like the brain does fix itself given time.
Yeah. I was impressed. It's also like he when he was younger, he passed the Mensa test. And so he's like genius status. When he used to do mathematics, like you put any equation for him, he just tell you the answer, write it down. He's one of those people. So he's pretty intellectual, and I've debated with him my whole life, which was fun. But he's slightly different. But like I said, it's like having my dad is actually my dad's twin brother, because it is a slightly different personality when you talk to him now. He's way more calm, and there's like all sorts of different things in his personality, but overall it's pretty great to have my dad back. The only bummer for me is I'm gonna have to watch my father die twice. And I already know what it feels like. But I might die first, so then I won't have to worry about that at all. So maybe I'm an optimist.
I like the way you think.
Thanks.
Deathwish has been praised for its dedication to hardcore punk genre. How do you balance honoring the roots of the genre while pushing the boundaries of sonic innovation?
Can you say the question one more time? Sorry.
Deathwish has been praised for its dedication to the hardcore punk genre. How do you honor your roots of the genre while pushing the boundaries of sonic innovation?
Oh, okay. So this is a thing that happens that I noticed. Like, if our records are in the metal section, they just sell like okay. You know what I mean? If people check them out or whatever. But we tour with so many punk bands that we're almost like always put in the punk section. If the person actually heard of us, that's like stalking us. And some stores put us in both sections. And we almost got like the Motorhead effect, where they're not really sure where to put us. Because I mean, I just have a shaved head, and you know what I mean? I'm like an old skate punk that liked metal, you know what I mean, like growing up, and I liked old punk and stuff like that. I liked even 80s pop and all sorts of stuff. But like I think we like everybody was like what 3 of the 4 people were skate punks. So and then they look like metalheads. So, and they like all of it. Like I think we're just more broad of people as far as like, I'm not really into the clicky stuff. Whenever some person's just one dimensional, I think there's nothing wrong with that if that's how that person is. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I like skateboarding and having fun when I was young. And I like going to shows and having fun and like tearing it up. Punk rock was more about getting away from all the being told what to think, what to do, blah blah blah. And so what we do is we just try to rip it up on stage. And I mean, punks and metalheads both have a good time. They both slam dance. They both enjoy good bands. They both there's more similarities than there is differences, I would say, in the end of the day.
Well, like, even when I was listening to the Fourth Horseman, I was just like, I can see punk and I can hear punk and I can hear metal, and I was just like, it's just rock. It's just good rock. I was like, it fits in the, like, for me, everything's just rock, but I could hear, I'm like, there's a little ska influence. There's a little punk influence. Cause there's just like elements,
Yeah. I would say we use elements of different stuff, but I mean, this is like definitely a band that didn't have a lane until Motorhead just decided to carve one out and be like, and if Motorhead, let's be honest, if Motorhead had short hair and dressed punk, they would have been punk. Motorhead like a bunch of heads, so everybody's like they're metal, and it's like, what really is Motorhead? I like kind of like us. I don't know, if you want to define us, I don't care. That's fine. Like if you don't want to, that's fine as well. It's kind of like the other thing is like I'm a conceptual artist when we start out the record, but in the end, when I'm up on stage, I'm an entertainer. Like everybody paid whatever they paid to get in that night, and I'm just going to do my best to make sure they all go home happy and have a good time. And that's like at the and punk rockers can say, like, you know what I mean, we hate capitalism, we hate this, we hate that, but you're charging to get in the door. You're selling records for money. You're doing all sorts of things and then complaining about it at the same time, which is goofy to me. So I just don't go in those areas because I'm just like, why would I complain about something that I'm doing? This makes no sense. I'd be like, I'm totally against cocaine. Anyway, so as I was saying, you know what I mean? And you're like, well, what? if you do this at a high level, it's a little goofy to be the center point of your complaint just because it's a popular thing to say. So and so I think sometimes people are like, what the hell's going on here? And it's just like, I think they have a hard time. Like, I also pro wrestled for a long time. I taught Mr. Kennedy how to wrestle. I was one of the trainers of, he was in the WWE and TNA and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I learned a lot through like pro wrestling and how to entertain a crowd, how to keep a crowd happy, how to bring them down, bring them up. But you need to send them home happy so they had a good time. It's your job is to make sure they are happy. That's your job while you're up there. And if that's not what you're going for, and you're just going for, I'm going to tell them what they need to think, I'm going to control the crowd, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get over on that. What okay. that's what the heel wrestlers do. Like, you can do that. I don't know why you would, but okay.
Yeah. How does each member of the band contribute to the overall energy and sound of the album and the writing process?
Okay, so the drummer's like a super talented drummer. He's like one of the only drummers I worked with that can actually play an entire record to a click track. So he's like the human metronome. And then he still does have like some real warmth to his playing, so it doesn't sound robotic at all. But he's got some really clever like fills. He can just play anything and amazing. Like he's a top drummer. I met him years ago, and once I saw him play, I was like, holy shit, I need to get that guy in a band eventually. And me and him tried out for the guitar player's stoner band and the Parish, which was a really good band. And the drummer's just like, oh, I'm not into this because I'm not, you know what I mean? I can play it, but I don't really like playing this slow. And he goes, if you have any other side projects, let me know and I'd be glad to join. And then I talked to the guitar player and I'm like, hey, do you want to do this like motor charge band with us? Like, and he's like, yeah, I can write all those riffs. That sounds like that'd be fun. Let's do it. And like, I'm like, well, it'll be us three, and then even we had a rotation of guitar players, and now we have a Luxor Alter, K Luxor Alter, which is actually his real name. Like, everybody looks at our name.
Thank you for pronouncing that, because I was looking at it and I was like, whew.
Yeah, people like because like all the rest of it's just our nicknames or whatever. Like Guinea Pig Champions, obviously a takeoff of Pig Champion from Poison Idea, because we love Poison Idea. And Guinea Pig Champion's a lot smaller. So I actually gave him that nickname, and I thought it was, like, everybody loved it and he likes it, so everybody calls him it. So yeah.
Awesome. What were there any memorable moments or challenges you encountered during the creation of the album?
Yeah, there was tons of, like, I would say more after the creation. It was like we got signed to Victory, and we got like a $250,000 deal for 4 records, but it was at a point where we didn't have a record entirely written. So,
Yeah.
but I've worked with other labels before where we didn't have the record entirely written, like Southern Lord, and we took another 9 months and then we wrote the rest of the record and then we did it. You know what I mean? So it was like, or a year or whatever. And so out of the clear blue, like, one of my old bandmates who sang in one of my older bands is friends with the art director. They went to college together that works for Victory. And then they did a showcase where we showed up. We played some giant venue, and like, what was it? 7 people pile into the back. You can't see them because the lights are so damn bright. You play 3 songs and then you leave. And then you get off stage and you're like, what just happened? They're like, oh, well, the agent's watching. We'll get back to you. And then eventually Tony called me maybe a month later, and he's like, hey, we're gonna sign you. Rock and roll's one hell of a drug. Like, sign the contract. Goodbye. And then like, and like the way I got in, like, he's actually a pro wrestling fan. And then was the weird part is in the middle of the discussion with him, he goes, I don't know if you ever heard of a person named Kevin Nash, but I really enjoy pro wrestling. And I was like, I was on a show with Kevin Nash. I know Kevin Nash. He's like, wait, did you say you know Kevin Nash? I'm like, I don't know him, but I've pro wrestled on shows with him. And I go, and he's nice. Like, he's friends with Scotty Levy and a bunch of other dudes that I know. But I was just like, yeah, so he was shocked. We had something in common. We didn't really talk music. Like, the entire discussion was about pro wrestling. And then he signed us.
That's awesome.
I guess the agent said 5 of them said absolutely yes, this band is really good. One agent said they weren't sure, and the last agent was like, I don't think so. But I'm like, well, that's really 5-1. 5-1 is plenty good enough ratings. So I was just like, and for all I know, the other guy doesn't like what we play, so that's not a weird statement either.
Yeah.
And then we got that. So right before, like, we were working on a record, we're gonna go and record, we're gonna do the stuff, and all of a sudden it gets sold for $30 million. So our record deal is done because it went to Concord, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. They wouldn't even return messages. They don't care. You can sue them. I talked to our entertainment lawyer, and they're basically like, well, you can get $50,000 if you do a lawsuit, but you can't use the band name, and you can't use any of the imagery, and you can't play shows under this name, and you can't play these. Like, it was like one thing after another because of the contract. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in $50,000 5 years from now to not play shows. This is kind of stupid. So then we went about a couple months or whatever, however long the no compete clause went, and he wrote me again, hey, what are you doing? You want to sign to my new label, Mission 2? I'm like, sure. So we signed the same contract. A bunch of different bands had their stuff come out right as it got up to us. I'm like, okay, we're all ready to go. Here we go. We're going to the studio, and the guy that recorded us was Mark Burr. He's actually the sound engineer of Max Cavalero. And then he also is now Municipal Waste. And like, he travels all over touring. And when he's not touring, he's here recording or working in the studio. And so I couldn't believe he was only like 10, 15 minutes from where I live. Like, I was like, wait, what? like I've been driving like to Minneapolis where our guitar player lives, which is like 5 hours from here, just to record records. And now I'm like, oh, we only have to travel like 10 minutes. That's nice. So we worked with him, and like, we start to record it, but all of a sudden I go on the internet, I see, oh, by the way, Mission 2 is defunct and the record label's done, and Tony shut it down, and I was like, oh, and then I call the number, oh, the phone has been disconnected, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense what's going on here. So then we waited like another, what was it, we kind of changed, we went back into it, and we added like a solo. We did some stuff because we had time now to do whatever we wanted, you know what I mean? And then I got a hold of the Victory guy, because I'm friends with him on Facebook, and then he finished laying out all the stuff. Anyways, I just, like, also our lawyer's like, hey, go go back and check if anybody paid for anything. So I checked everyone. Nobody got paid. Nobody had been paid yet because they were waiting for the, you know what I mean, that they're going to green light it and then they're going to pay, I guess, or whatever was going on there. And so we just went back and bought everything. We just back and paid for everything, and then that was pretty much it. And then then make a long story longer. like I sent the link once we had it all together in one link to Beer City Records, because that was our original label. And I mean, I'll be honest, I like being on Beer City. Like I love being on Beer City. That 20-something years later has sent me a check already for $1.37 for like money he owed me in royalties from some old hardcore band I was in. And it's like, who has that good of bookkeeping? You know what I mean? Like who's that honest in the music industry? That was crazy. And you never don't get the truth out of the guy. The guy just tells you exactly what he thinks. He's straight up. He's honest. And he's got all the legendary punk bands that I grew up listening to. So we got to tour with DRI. We got to tour with Millions of Cops. We got to tour with Raw Power. We got to, you know what I mean? It was like an endless list of who's who. And we played shows with like a ton of the other Beer City bands and stuff as well. We toured with like Panel 3. We got to do some dates with the Crosses, which is Danny Dykreutzen doing the first Dykreutzen record with some other members. And we did dates with them. It was awesome. It was like all the bands I liked growing up. So it's like, well, this works out just fine. I'm happy here. And he's like, I tell you what, this is the best record I've ever heard you did. I'll put it out. So if you want to talk to me when you get back from tour, let me know. Because I think last year, we do 4 or 5 tours? When we were gone, we did like most of the US with DRI. And then I think we did an extra tour with Retox AD. They're kind of like a band that sounds like RKL. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So third time's the charm, I guess.
Well, and you actually answered my next question, because it was like the Fourth Horseman is set to be released on Beer City Records. How did that partnership come about? So you answered that question, but not good. Not the first 2 failures, but
it worked out fine. Like I mean, being on the other labels, like being on Victory, I got a ton of endorsements through it. It worked out great. Like I'm fine. We're fine. Our record's coming out. Looks great. It's exactly the way we wanted it. It's like 3 different limited edition like burst colors and stuff, and it's like it looks amazing. So as a piece of art, I'm more than happy. So
yeah, that's awesome. As a band known for its intense live performances, how do you hope to translate the energy and emotion from the Fourth Horseman into your live shows?
We're incorporating songs, and basically like it'll just be what we always do. One of the things you can do, different things to generate like things going on in the room. I have Lyme disease, so I'm not super mobile. So I'm not able to do like my guitar jumps and all my crazy shit that I used to do. I used to do stage dive when I just sang in bands and go nuts all over the place, and like I'd be all over the place. But there's a thing that like one of my friends talked about, that if you're still and the whole room is moving, it's still the contrast is there, and that can be actually very empowering. Yeah. If you're moving and the whole room standing still, the contrast becomes empowering. Like there's all sorts of ways to like just like, I think what's really important is a mathematical algorithm on how you set up your set list and where those songs are going, and where you're in the middle, when you stop, and if you talk. And we only do that, I think we only do that one time, is we just stop. We do it twice. We stop, talk a little bit, stop, talk a little bit, maybe 3. I start the set. I talk one time when we stop, and I talk one time before the last song. That's it. And I also just nail the points home, and then that's it. So it'll be more of the same, just like with a couple extra really amazing like songs that are like one of my favorites. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you played any songs live, and how's fan reactions been?
Oh, amazing. Well, like we're doing like our music video is going to hit pretty soon. It's Aftermath of a Severed World, and that's getting finished up right now. But that was originally a song that me, the guitar player, and a drummer from our old band all had written. And I was like, I was on one of the tours, and I was just like, hey guys, let's redo that song. Let's do that song in this band. And they're like, we kind of did that in our Crust band. How's that going to fit in this? I'm like, skip the jingly jangly stuff at the beginning. Like don't do the emo epic stuff, and then just have the drums kick in and just go right into the metal stuff. And then I'm like, it'll connect with people. It's got a really good rock and roll ending. You know what I mean? It's like the big build up and like ending with everybody going crazy and all sorts of shit like that. And like I was like, I tell you what, we'll try it 3 nights. If the crowds don't respond to it, we won't do it again. And every single night the place went absolutely nuts. And I'm like, this is going on our next record. and now,
awesome.
and now,
and you're like, and I told you so.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that because it's just like I could have been totally wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of times where like I set up the set, I do something, and you don't get the response, and you notice something's out of alignment. Let's reevaluate this again. I'm always open to like, and I think there's nothing wrong with being wrong, because if you didn't think you were wrong, you're never going to learn anything.
Exactly, I agree with you. Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for Deathwish?
I was just kidding.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations?
That was a perfect setup.
I know it was. I walked straight into that one.
Sorry about that.
And it's completely okay. What are your aspirations for Deathwish's future?
Just go on more tours. Like we're doing another tour with DRI in June. So they're taking us out again. We've done like over 250 shows with them already, and they're super supportive of us. They enjoy touring with us. So we've got to do like an endless amount of tours with them. And like if bands aren't working out right, Spike will call me. Hey, you want to do this tour? Yeah. Okay. The band I'm trying to work with is just not working out. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll be there. Give me the dates. I'll be there. We'll all be there. No problem. And like, I don't know, like after that, like we might tour with Psychosomatic. Like I was talking to Millions a Day Cops, seeing if they want to tour again, possibly. Well, like I'm not sure. We'll see what we're like, what our options are. Like mostly, we are playing Motorfest 3 in Pittsburgh. That's in August. Wow. So that's like all the Motor Charge bands basically, and they have us as like co-headlining or something. And I was like, oh well, that's flattering. That's really nice that they.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But we also, I mean, we toured a lot. Like, I mean, I think we did 74 shows in 72 days straight, me and the guitar player already. And then we kept like coming back and switching certain members that can only tour for so long, or we'd fly them in and fly a person out. Yeah. But me and the guitar player did the whole thing. And wow, after you do that, like I remember getting back home, and my ex who I was dating at the time was a Polish lady. And she calls me and she's like, hey, get up. Like, you have to get up. And I'm just like, what state am I in? And she's like, we're going out to eat with your parents. Like, get ready. I'm like, yeah, but what state am I in? And I still like had no clue where I was. She's like, you're at home at our place. Like, get up, get ready. We have to go out to eat with your parents. I'm like, is it 5 a.m, like for breakfast? She's like, no, it's 5 p.m. And I'm amazed that if you're on the road long enough and you do that many shows and you're in that many places, your brain does get like, or mine anyways, it ends up just like mush. Yeah, it's hard to make sense of what the hell's going on once you try to get back into normal life.
That's crazy. And I've heard that before. Like people just come on the road and then they sit at home and they're like, "Oh no, I can't do this."
Yeah, it's hard. I get used to both. Like I love being on the road, but also don't mind being at home as well. I have an amazing dog, so
yes.
My dog.
You take the dog on the road?
No, I don't take dogs on the road, and the reason I wouldn't do that is because their ears are too sensitive, and so I don't want them. I don't want my dog around loud music, and like I'll also like he was a rescue pet, and like being a rescue pet, he's a little bit skittish, and I also just like it's too much responsibility. You know what I mean? Like it's easier having like my parents watch my dog or one of my exes watch my dog or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just easier. And then I know he can run around, he can get taken on walks again. He doesn't want to sit in a van with me for like a 12-hour drive. That's like not,
I get that.
Probably not fun for a dog.
You're like, sometimes I don't want to sit in the van for 12 hours.
I'm just like, I mean, I'm fine with it, but it's like if I was a dog, like he's way too wound up, he'd be like, "What the hell are we doing in this little ass area forever? This sucks." It would just
Yeah.
be like a big kennel for him, and he hates being in the kennel. So he was only in there a little bit when he was a puppy, and now we don't even kennel him because he's just an excitable. He's like a fox terrier. He's a Teddy Roosevelt fox terrier mixed
Yeah.
with a chihuahua, and he's white with like this like arc striking on his ear. So he kind of looks like an Arctic fox with an eye patch. He looks like a pirate Arctic fox. He's
That's
adorable.
awesome.
Yeah.
Does he have Chihuahua attitude?
It's really nice. The other thing that's nice about him is my new girlfriend has a teenage daughter still. The daughter was like trying to give him a treat or something, but she kind of like went really quick. And my dog doesn't bite people. What he does is take his nose, and if he gets kind of freaked out, he just bangs his nose against them. And I asked the daughter right away, I'm like, "Are you okay? What just happened? Did he bite you?" And she's like, "No, he didn't bite me at all." And now that I've seen him do it like once or twice, I'm like, well, that's great. My dog doesn't even bite. Like my dog just taps people with his nose, so I don't have to worry about that either. And I mean, he was in the wild for like 6 months or something, so who knows? You know what I mean? Like how he's gonna feel. And I do think somebody might have kicked him or somebody with a red jacket on because he doesn't seem to like people in big red jackets.
Dogs have good memories.
Yeah.
So we ask the same 3 questions at the end of every interview. What artist or band do you feel is most underrated and why?
What band or artist is most underrated? Okay, I'm going to go with an opposite approach on this. Danzig. And because the only thing people can pick on him about is his height. So, he's the evil midget. He's like the gnome. He's the elf. He's the that. But like, yeah, okay, right. But he sounds like Elvis and Jim Morrison combined. He played in Bell Band. He like fronted the Misfits. He fronted Sam Hain. He sells out arenas now. Arenas. And it's like, so it's like the guy that just did like nerdy and it all worked out and it's like just a fun band, and that's really what it is in my opinion. And the other thing is like people like just want to bury him all the time, and I'm just like, or you could just go watch them and have a good time because the Misfits are pretty awesome and Sam Hain's pretty awesome and Danzig's pretty awesome. So that I guess that's sort of a reverse answer because it's more that like the guy that's successful, people just want to knock out the legs from underneath him. And he fell off stage. He got punched and knocked out. Yeah, by a guy that weighs 150 pounds more than him. Should he have not started that fight? Probably. At the same time, if I get punched by a guy 150 pounds more than me, I'm going to get knocked out. That's not weird.
Yeah.
Watch MMA. They don't have the 265s fighting the 165s. There's a reason.
Exactly. What artist or band would you like to collaborate with and why?
Collaborate with? I don't know, maybe like I don't think DRI is ever doing a record again, but I think a split record with DRI, kind of how a Nepsi and what the heck's their name, Joel Grind from Toxic Holocaust, how they did those, just the 2-song thing or whatever. I always thought that would be cool. I never thought and don't know if they would be in, but I always thought that would be cool, even if it was like pre-recorded stuff of theirs.
Well, now that you're going on the road with them again, you can be like, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Let's do a split.
Well, I don't think as a band they've done so many records. I don't think they have any plans on doing any records ever again.
Yeah.
They will just play different kind of sets of like all the stuff they've done because they have. What did they start out in 82 or 84? Yeah. 82, I believe. So, yeah, they put out plenty enough records. I'm pretty sure.
They've got to have some B-sides and like something that hasn't been heard yet that already recorded.
Yeah. I'll talk to Spike and Kurt when I'm on the road and see what their thoughts are.
What artist or band would you like to tour with and why?
Which artist and band would I like to tour with? Like the Misfits when they're doing their things, just because like Midnight did it. I saw Midnight open up. Oh, I saw Midnight open up for Danzig. That's who they open up for. And we're pretty comparable to Midnight. We're different, but we're definitely in the same genre, playing a similar style. Like, and so yeah, like the Misfits or Danzig would be awesome in my opinion. But I would tour with like any of the old hardcore punk bands. We've played shows where we played my friend Time Bomb Tom's like birthday party like 5 years ago or something. And we played with the New Bomb Turks and the Humpers. And it was like, and then Boris the Sprinkler, I think, played. And like, it's all these pop punk bands and rock and roll bands and stuff. And we fit right in the show because we sound rock and roll enough to the rock and roll people. And like, there's people having a blast while we were playing. It was great. It was a really fun show. And then like example, then when also next thing you know, we go on the next day, we went on tour with DRI. Like DRI's like beneath the wheel on Headbangers Ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's like half their sets like total metal and or metal thrash crossover, and then half their sets like punk hardcore. So we're one of those bands that can just play with like any band. Like it's not too far of a leap. And almost all we've played with a lot of metal bands too, like super metal bands like around here and stuff, and even on the road. And like we fit in with the metal bands just fine. The hardcore, the punks, like all sorts of different skate punks. They're like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Like, thanks. Like, so it's so blended up. I'd be fine with like any of the legendary bands.
I feel like you've already toured with so many iconic bands. You know, like I'm surprised that you haven't toured with like the Misfits or Danzig. You know,
I think it's just I don't know the right people, because that's almost how everything works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're connected to the right person, next thing you know, like you're on tours.
Yeah. That is
and
it,
yeah,
sir.
we even in our old band, we even toured with Minnesota Waste when they were like younger. And then Ryan Waste was at one of our shows when we were on tour with Hellshock, and he's like, "You guys are good. I'll get you some merch tonight." Like, we were in Richmond or wherever they were. Like, I go, "Hey, I toured with you," and he's like, "You didn't tour with me." I'm like, "Sure, I did. Remember this like big festival we played kind of in like the LA, maybe Orange County area, and then like the people were throwing bottles at the cops, and the cops ran in the building, and everybody ran out. All this crazy shit was going on. Asshole Parade played, or didn't get to play. They got cut off, and like all this nutty shit went on, and like all of a sudden, like he's like, "Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that, dude. Like, maybe we did tour together." And I was like, "Yeah, we did." I go, "It was way back. It was way back when, and it was my other band." So yeah, but it was so yeah. It's like all the bands I like, and so yeah, I just got lucky, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you said, go ahead.
We'd even toured with Deviated Instinct. One of the bands that started Crust, and then we toured with Oi Polloi, who like so it's like a pretty big variety as well. Hellshock, which is like probably my favorite Crust band hands down. If there's like, I don't like a lot of Crust, but Hellshock's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wolf Brigade, Hellshock, both those two, maybe 5 bands altogether.
Is there a band that you've toured with that you're like that has been your like one of your favorite tours or one of your favorite bands?
I'd say DRI, just because that's like grew up listening to them. I actually found in the basement somewhere an actual cutout like logo of a shirt that I was given from a friend when I was like a really young teenager, and I wouldn't sew it on a jacket because I felt like the thread would wreck the logo, because you like the way that the person cut it, they cut it right up to the edge, and I'm like, so I actually found that I still have it, and I got that when I was like 13 or something. And
that's awesome.
you know what I mean? So it's like to be on tour with them guys all these years later is awesome, and they're super nice. Spike, Kurt, Greg, Rob, well, all the guys that have been, and then there was also Monster. Like there was a bunch of different people that were in the band because we've been touring with them for years now. They're just nice. It's real easy.
That's awesome.